It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does, and great to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of the show. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. You may recall we had Nick Ferguson on the show yesterday, the former NFL safety. We had such a long conversation with him that extended past what you saw on yesterday's show. We didn't even talk about the Broncos yesterday, and he's in Denver. So we'll do that with him coming up a little later on in the show. I've got some things to say about the Cleveland Browns QB situation. Ronald Acuña Jr. is hurt again, and a whole bunch more. But we start things out in the NFL, and we say good morning to Matt Verderame, our longtime friend, our returning champion who hangs out with us. Does a great job over at SI. Also, the Matt Verderame Show available on Patreon. And Matt, look, you're in Cincinnati, and that is the belly of the beast, and I don't think you could be in a better spot for us to start the show today with the news that Trey Hendrickson sounds like he's going to go from hold out to hold in.
Oh, he's probably sick of being fined $50,000 every day. So I'm thinking that that's probably a good financial move. Yeah, I mean, I got to Cincinnati, and I got in last night, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Trey Hendrickson's going to be there tomorrow. Okay. The last year when I was here was the first day Jamar Chase showed up too. So apparently when I show up to Cincinnati, things happen. Look, I think if you're Trey Hendrickson, you're stopping the fines. So that's a positive. But also, like, you can't step back out onto that field until you have a new deal. You just can't. Like, I know it's $21 million. For any of us, that's an insane, life-changing amount of money. But also, he's probably worth $100 million plus on a new deal. I mean, I know he's in his early 30s. I get it, but he's still that. I mean, he led the league in sacks last year with 17.5. So if I'm Hendrickson, I'm saying, look, I'm not going anywhere but on the side of this practice field until you're giving me at least 3 and 110, and you're guaranteeing, I don't know, 70 plus. Like, I think it would be bad business by him to step back on the field without some long-term guaranteed money.
Does the good faith gesture of coming in help move that closer, or is that just window dressing at this point? I mean, are they still, because it doesn't sound like they're that far apart on the numbers, Matt.
Well, so the point of contention has been that, according to a few different reports, they haven't offered him a single cent of guaranteed money past this year, and that they just, and look, that has been something with the Bengals that has gone on forever. Okay, they do not like to guarantee money. And for anyone out there who's like, well, why? Why would that matter? When you guarantee money in the NFL, you have to put the money in escrow at the time of signing. And the Bengals just don't have the cash on hand that other teams do. That just doesn't exist. Like, I can tell you right now, and this didn't come to fruition. When the Bengals were trying to sign Joe Burrow, I had a very prominent agent say to me, in full seriousness, he thought they were going to have to go to a bank to take out a loan to pay him. Okay, so like that is what I mean. This is not the Cowboys or the Rams or the Broncos or the Chiefs or one of these teams just has so much money it doesn't matter. That is not what this is. So look, I think eventually something gets done, even if it's just, hey, you know what, we're going to pack more money into this year, and then you hit free agency. If I was Hendrickson, I would hold out until I got more down the road. But look, smart money says they'll eventually figure something out. But the Bengals are different than a lot of teams in the way they handle this stuff.
Yeah, Matt, and I'm sure you, as we all remember, like as recently as 10 years ago when Kirk Cousins was getting franchise tagged year over year with the Commanders, there was speculation that they were going to have to go to Bank of America and loan out a certain amount of money to put in escrow to maintain the franchise tag. Absolutely wild how some of these teams operate financially. On the topic of financial holdouts, though, Trey Hendrickson doing the same thing that Terry McLaurin did last week. And obviously there's the ongoing situation with Micah Parsons. Matt, we see a lot of teams waiting until the 11th hour in the past 2 seasons specifically to sign these players, and they end up overpaying it because of that. What is the logic that these front offices are using in waiting to sign these players? Do they think that they're going to just take a cheaper deal on August 1st?
I think with guys like McLaurin and Hendrickson, there's the thought process that they are either approaching or on the other side of 30, and the teams are going to try to squeeze them because there's not a market that out there that these players think there are. Now, I would argue in both these cases, there is absolutely a market for both these guys. Like if Trey Hendrickson and Terry McLaurin both just magically hit free agency today, they would get massive contracts. Okay, this is not. Look, there are times when that's true. There are times when like guys get out. Like if Jalen Ramsey had been released, Jalen Ramsey was not getting a huge contract. Jalen Ramsey probably would have gotten like 1 year, maybe two, but like the second one would have really been an option. Terry McLaurin and Trey Hendrickson really, I think, would get fairly similar contracts. I think they both get 3 years, over 100 million, 70, 75 million guaranteed. Like I think that's where they'd be at. We just saw Cortland Sutton get 492. Cortland Sutton is not Terry McLaurin. So, like I think that's part of it. Now the Cowboys, it's different. The Cowboys just don't pay anybody on time because Jerry likes to have headlines for a year or 6 months. I firmly believe that's what it is with Dallas. Dallas knows they're going to pay Parsons. They're going to make him the highest paid player in the league at this position.
That's what Sam said too. Yeah.
But Jerry just wants the attention and the drama of it for 2 months or 3 months. They do this every time. CeeDee Lamb got signed the last week of August last year and got paid $34 million a year when it really should have probably been 29 or 30 had they done it on time. Dak Prescott got $60 million in week 1 per year, 240 total. Nobody's gotten paid more than Dak Prescott since that because the contract was insane. Like the Cowboys love to just draw things out and get a little bit of camera time. And so they're willing to pay more money to pay for that camera time. I think it's insane, certain the team, certain the salary cap, but that's how the Cowboys operate.
In the last minute of this segment, on the Cowboys, stay on them for just a second here. What are they? When you stack them up against the rest of the NFC East, if they are healthy, how good, what is the ceiling for this team in your mind?
I mean, what are they? Not great. I think they're average. I think they're an average football team. I think they're
9-8, 10-7.
I was going to say 8 to 9 wins. Yeah. I mean, because the problem with Dallas is you look at them and you're like, all right, look, if Prescott's healthy and you've got Lamb and you've got Pickens, like, look, Pickens, God only knows what you're getting out of Pickens on a week-to-week basis, but, like, he's talented. I mean, offensively, I think they should be pretty good. But that defense, I have no idea what you're getting outside of the front. Like the linebackers, you know, there's just question marks, there's injuries. In the secondary, I mean, Trayvon Diggs, apparently that rehab's not going great, and the Cowboys are ticked off about that. Jordan Lewis is gone. He's in Jacksonville. So, look, I think, and then also you have Brian Schottenheimer, who's never been a head coach at any level, and you don't know what you're getting at. So, I think they're average. Could they make the playoffs? Yeah. Could they be a 7? Yeah. But I tend to think, yeah, they're like a game or so, one way or the other, around 500.
Matt Verderame's with us. We'll do one more segment with him. He's got to go to camp. We'll talk to him more next. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. We continue to keep an eye on what's going on in NFL training camps. Matt Verderame of SI is hanging out with us. Also, the Matt Verderame Show available on Patreon, where you can hear him wax poetic about the Kansas City Chiefs and more from the NFL. He's in Cincinnati checking out the Bengals, and his timing is perfect with everything going on with Trey Hendrickson. Can I ask you about the Raiders for a moment? I was on a show out here in Las Vegas. A TV show had me on. One of the local TV shows had me on, talk about them for a half hour the other day, and literally they were just waxing poetic about Ashton Genty, and some people are happy about Geno Smith, some aren't. What do you see when you look at this Raiders team? I know the secondary is a bit of a question mark. What do you see when you look at this Raiders team right now?
I have a really hard time making a case not the fourth best team in the division.
Oof.
I just, how are they not? Like, I don't, look, Carroll is a very good coach. He also hasn't won 10 games in like 5 years, okay, in a season. And that Seattle team was more talented than this Raiders team. Geno Smith is fine. But, and I don't say this disrespectfully, but like, he's a guy. Like, he's an average NFL quarterback. They don't have their offensive line. There's a lot of youth on it, so it could be good, but there's a lot of questions. Like, you don't know what it's going to be. I love Genty. Bowers is obviously fantastic. At receiver, it's a whole lot of like Jacoby Myers is masquerading as a 1 when he should be a 2, and then like the rest of it, I don't know. Defensively, to me, it's Max Crosby and who? They cut Wilkins for reasons that still remain somewhat unclear here. And then I have no idea who's the second best player on that defense. Kuntz coming off an ACL? Like who's stopping anybody?
Jamal Adams. I mean,
Jamal Adams, my God. Jamal, I'm not. I hate to admit this because I cover the league. I thought he was retired. When he signed with the Raiders, I was like, is he still in the league? And then I realized last year he played for two teams.
They're gonna kill me here in Vegas. Oh,
so, that's their problem. I mean, look, I think they'll be better. I think they're like a 6 to a 7 win team. I just don't. There's too many holes where a good team's just going to go, let's exploit that. And I don't know what the Raiders do to stop it.
Genty, Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he'd be my pick. Yeah, look, I think Genty's going to be great, and I think Bowers is awesome. But again, it's just like, okay, is the line good? Is Geno Smith going to be able to, like when Geno Smith plays against Herbert and Mahomes, can he win those games? Now, maybe against Herbert, because Herbert doesn't beat anybody who's any good. But you look at, like, I'm a big believer in Denver. I think Denver's going to be good. I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl, but I think they can be good. If you want to make the case the Raiders are better than the Chargers, I could hear that. I don't know. I think Herbert and Harbaugh, I think that's enough to at least be like a 9-win team, be better than the Raiders.
Matt, one of the big stories of the offseason was the charges that came out against Rashee Rice, resulting from something that happened like a year ago, essentially, at this point.
Yep.
But I'm curious from a Chiefs perspective, for an offense that, I mean, let's be honest, struggled in the red zone passing the ball last season. Now they may not have Rashee Rice. We don't know about the suspension. What are you hearing from inside Chiefs camp and a wide receiving core that's dealing with some injuries? Who's going to step up for the Chiefs this year?
Well, look, I think Xavier Worthy is going to be the big guy. I mean, last year, the second half of the year, he was on an 1,000-yard pace. He played really well down the stretch. He was great in the playoffs. So he's one of them. Hollywood Brown, who rolled his ankle but seemingly is fine. He's going to be a guy who steps up. He only played 2 games last year in the regular season. He got hurt on the first play of the preseason and was out for 4 months. And then, look, Rice is going to be a guy that when he comes back, he is the number 1 receiver on the team. I mean, I think Worthy is kind of a 1B at this point because they're so different. Rice is going to work the intermediate, middle of the field, out of the slot. Worthy's just going to run a post route and try to beat somebody down the field. So, look, I think the other thing is, too, like, what are you getting out of Kelsey? Now, Kelsey lost some weight this offseason. There wasn't the Eras tour to be on, which I think, listen, I'm never going to criticize a man for just going around the world with his girlfriend on a musical tour, but I think this offseason was a little more normal for him. So I think that might help to kind of hold back the hands of time. But listen, don't make no mistake. If they don't have Rice early, their schedule's hard. I mean, they had the Eagles week 2, they had the Chargers in Brazil to start. They had the Ravens week 4, they had the Lions week 6. Now, they went 15-2 without Rice basically last year. So I think they can do some things. But it's going to be relying on that defense, relying on Worthy, and relying on what they hope is a little bit more of a spry Travis Kelce.
Give me a thought on what's going on in Baltimore right now, because you have Isaiah Likely, who's going to miss the early part of the season, and there were a lot of question marks about, hey, what about after him with Kolar and Andrews? I would think if you're Baltimore, you're almost breathing a sigh of relief that you have the depth they have at tight end right now, given the injury to Likely and the fact that he's going to miss some time here.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts. It hurts because even though Andrews put up better numbers last year, I would argue Likely is the more dynamic player.
I agree.
Not having, and they love to play the 2 tight end sets. And with all due respect to Kolar is not either one of those guys. So it does change things, and their schedule's hard early as well. They play the Bills week 1. They play the Chiefs in that game I just mentioned in week 4. Like those are probably the 2 biggest games of the season outside of the division. I mean, those games are the games that matter most. And there's a very real chance they're unlikely in either one of those games. Likely smoked the Chiefs last year, even though they lost that game because he has a size 12 foot, not size 11. But look, I mean, it's, the Ravens, I've looked at their schedule a lot this offseason. I would argue they have the hardest schedule in football. Like, if you really just look at their schedule, and part of that's the division they play in, but their schedule's brutal. I mean, that is a hard schedule. And so they need everybody. Being without Likely, look, I mean, just like the Chiefs, if Rice is suspended, I expect them to survive it and ultimately be fine, but it is going to make life a lot harder early on in the season.
Matt, we got 1 minute left in this segment, but there's so much hype around Arch Manning and whether he's going to come out, whether he's not. What have you heard from teams around the NFL regarding, I know we're a year out, but regarding their early scouting reports of Arch Manning? Is he obviously going to be 1-1 in next year's draft?
I think there's a general thought that, like, if he lives up to his potential, that he's got an inside track to it. But to your point, Sam, I mean, we're talking a year out, right? I mean, Joe Burrow, nobody thought anything of Joe Burrow.
Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders was.
It's just, there could be a guy who just comes out and Cam Ward wasn't thought to be the number one pick in the draft. That being said, Arch Manning is a guy. Look, his talent is fantastic, but it's also his last name. I mean, people are going to look at him and just go, well, am I really going to be passing on that guy? Because if I pass on him and he's great, I look like the biggest dope on earth. So he's going to get a lot of benefits of the doubt. But yes, I think you go into the season feeling like if I had to bet $20 on who's going to be the number one pick in the draft, I would bet him.
Matt Verderame, SI.com, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have fun out at camp.
You got it anytime.
We're coming back. We welcome you back to this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Coming up in 10 minutes, I have some things to say about the Cleveland Browns and their quarterback situation. Because I feel like there's something that you see in other sports that you don't see in the NFL. And I feel like the Cleveland Browns have a golden opportunity to do it this season, and they're not going to. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. Yesterday, you might recall, we had Nick Ferguson on the show. We did a couple of segments with him, and we talked some college football with Deion Sanders and what was going on with Coach Prime at Colorado, but we also talked about the issue of CTE, this terrible tragedy that took place in New York. The one thing we didn't talk about with him, at least that you didn't know, was the Denver Broncos. But little do you know, we actually did talk with him about the Denver Broncos. As soon as we were done with him, we held on to him for what we call a bonus segment, and we had a long conversation about the Denver Broncos. And I thought it was a good idea to let you guys hear from somebody who covers the team in Denver and a former Bronco himself, sort of what's going on with the Broncos. And I asked the big question, that is the secondary, and is this team as good as a lot of people are suggesting they're going to be? On the Broncos, how much concern is there right now in this stage of training camp with their secondary? There's a lot of expectations here. And as I sat here and thought about it this morning, I'm wondering if the expectations might be a little inflated. And the reason I say that is I went and looked at their schedule last year and who this team beat. They didn't beat anybody, Nick. They really didn't beat anybody. And, I don't know. And look, you're more up close with this than I am. But I went and looked at, who they beat last year. They don't get in if the Chiefs don't mail it in the last week of the season. I mean, are they as close? I mean, people are trying to make the argument they can surpass the Chiefs this year, who won 15 games for crying out loud last year and got better in the offseason. I'm trying to figure out, is the optimism a little inflated here? Are the expectations a little inflated when it comes to the Broncos?
I'm going to say no. I mean, you play who's on your schedule. And let's be totally honest. You brought up Kansas City. How many games last year did we watch Kansas City win by, 3 points?
But they won.
In the fourth quarter, even though they won, going into the Super Bowl, that was one of the biggest questions. Who are the Kansas City Chiefs? Are they for real? Or has the league finally caught up with them? With the Broncos, they say, okay, well, 63 sacks last year, which was historic for the organization. And you can say, well, who they played. Hey, listen, once again, you play who's on the schedule, but then you look at the level of performance, right? And watching that Buffalo game, they realized they were not as physical as they needed to be on either side of the ball. And to compete with some of the top offensive teams in the league, they had to get better defensively. Like Riley Moss is technically, he's going in his third year, but this is actually his second year on the field. Because his first year, he didn't really play. So now you draft Jahdae Barron, right? You already have Jaquan McMillan. And then PJ Locke, I didn't think that PJ was ready for that starting role. Now you have Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga, right? Now you're better in that secondary. So now you can get more takeaways. More takeaways mean more opportunities for Sean Payton. That's why when you look at what they did in the draft and you look at what they did free agency, they went heavy defense because Sean realized, guess what? My legacy is on the line with Bo Nix. I got to prove that I can get back to the playoffs and possibly win the Super Bowl with someone not named Drew Brees. So he understands this. And regardless of what people say in the NFL about quarterbacks, no, it's not about quarterbacks. It's about the damn team. I've never seen a quarterback win a game by themselves. So what you do is you build out your defense and hope that your defense with a better secondary can pull better numbers. So I'm all for it. I think the Broncos have the capabilities of beating Kansas City not once, but finally beating them twice.
An important member of that team outside of Bo Nix on the offense is Courtland Sutton, who inked a new deal yesterday. What did you make of maybe the most underrated wide receiver one in the National Football League getting paid? And does it kind of open the door for the Broncos to do more with this offense this season?
Well, I'm just going to say put the money in the bag. Tip drill, baby. Tip drill. Yes, 4-year extension, not worth $92 million. And, watching Courtland, Courtland is not like a Jamar Chase where you saying, okay, well, he's got exceptional speed. Obviously, he had some injuries over the years which kind of slowed him down. But he's a big body receiver. You look at those 50-50 catches that he's made historically, going from Russell Wilson to Bo Nix. And when you look at the wide receiver room, I mean, he's the elder statesman. No one else has stepped up to the plate to say, you know what, Broncos, don't give that money to Courtland, give it to me. The next guy who I think is set for a big deal, and that's Marvin Mims.
Marvin Mims, yeah.
I had a chance to talk to him yesterday, and I say, look, man, I want to see you going vertical this year. I mean, because you're a dynamic player going vertical. So now when you look at Courtland Sutton, the team say, look, they valued him, and you got to show to players who are on your team right now that you value and you take care of your own players. Because if you don't, other free agents are saying, you know what? I don't want to go there. They don't take care of their players. And here's a guy who's going to make things very easy or easier for Courtland Sutton, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram should open up so many opportunities. And I said this. I said I think this year that Evan Ingram may have more red zone touchdowns.
I'm with you. I'm actually high on Ingram this year.
Yeah. I can tell you, look, when you watch him in practice, I mean, he doesn't look like a tight end.
Real quick, Sam.
He just looked like a big wide receiver.
How good has RJ Harvey looked for you so far through training camp?
I'll tell you what, have you guys ever been to the Renaissance Fair? Right? at the Renaissance Fair, they have those, they sell those large turkey legs. That's exactly what his thighs look like. Large turkey legs. And they're thick, they're solid, and he's churning, he's moving. And, the Broncos just put the pads on yesterday. So obviously you got a chance to see him in a whole different way. I saw him standing with his parents on the field. I was standing like maybe 2 yards away from him. I mean, he's short in stature, but he looks like Ray Rice, right? Because Broncos fans, well, they wanted Omarion Hampton, who was drafted by the Chargers. But I'm like, look, big things come in small packages. And if you watch RJ Harvey run, he runs just like Ray Rice. So I mean, as a former safety, you don't want to be in front of those guys who are short in stature because they are low moving. And once they drop their pads, man, it's like a bowling ball. And I'll give you another guy who's a comp, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah.
Another comp. He's faster or athletic than Maurice Jones-Drew, but from the lower body power, when he, boom, hits you, it's a whole different level.
Nick Ferguson, always appreciate you, my friend. KOA Radio in Denver, covers the Broncos, does a great job, the former safety, hanging out with us on the show. Thank you, my friend.
Ooh, the bonus round.
We're talking about the Cleveland Browns on SportsWrap next. Welcome back to the show. Programming reminder on Thursday. Of course, we'll have our regular sports wrap leading up to the MLB trade deadline. We'll see what breaks between now and then. It's already been a pretty busy trade deadline, but expecting a lot of activity on Thursday. We will do a special live edition of Sports Wrap, streaming version of the show for YouTube subscribers. Anybody who's on YouTube, in fact, you don't even have to be a subscriber. Make sure to tune in from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. On Thursday afternoon, it will be myself and David Ardsma. Who knows, maybe a couple of surprises along the way. And we'll be watching what happens right up until the trade deadline and giving you all the expert analysis that you just have come to know and love when we have David Ardsma on the show. All right, Sam Yarnell, let's talk about the Browns. I teased that I wanted to talk about this yesterday. And I had this epiphany. Like the light went off in my head when it came to the Cleveland Browns as I was thinking about this yesterday. And I said, I got to talk about this on the show. I don't understand. You know, we see in the NBA, the process. We see what Oklahoma City did over a course of 2, 3, 4 years, building a franchise with draft picks and having a plan, and it all culminating in the perfect way with a championship. The Sixers had their version of the process. You see what all different teams, the Spurs are going through it right now. As bad as it's been for the Cleveland Browns, for as long as it's been bad for the Cleveland Browns, and I don't know why you can't do this in the NFL the way you could do it in other sports. The A's are trying to make the argument that they're sort of doing that now, building up to whatever they're going to do here in Las Vegas. And you see this. But in the NFL, for whatever reason, every team is trying to win as much as they can every year. And sometimes I think they're doing it at the cost of building a future for themselves. And I just take the Cleveland Browns here as an example, who are, and I think kind of this is what Vegas is doing right now as well. They just threw a bunch of things at the wall, and the Ashton Genty thing is great, and it's nice they have Brock Bowers, but it's like, hey, let's go get Pete Carroll for how long? And let's go get Geno Smith because he played with Pete Carroll. And then we'll go get Jamal Adams. And it was like they were building a fantasy team instead of, from a few years ago, instead of trying to, build something everlasting. And I look at what they're doing in Cleveland right now, and I'm like, you've got an opportunity right now. Everybody knows you stink. Everybody knows what this franchise has been. You go and get Gabriel, you draft Shedeur Sanders to pair with these veteran quarterbacks in Pickett and Flacco, and who knows what the hell's going on with Deshaun Watson, who's standing on the side going, hey, look at me. And I don't know why, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you don't just say to your fan base, hey, we're going to suck this year. But come out and watch the future of what this thing's going to look like. And we want to build a culture. And we want to change sort of the trajectory of this franchise. And that begins with playing these rookie quarterbacks, whether they suck or not, because we got to find out what we have in Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. I don't know why more NFL teams that have been bad for so long don't take this approach, Sam. I can't wrap my head around it. But yay, Joe Flacco is going to come in and you're going to win 6 games this year if you're the Browns. That's no slight on Joe Flacco. It's just, it is what it is around him. Or Kenny Pickett or whatever you're going to throw in there on a week in, week out basis. And you're trying to tell your fan base you're winning, but fans are smart enough to know we're not going to win anything with these guys anyway. Let's just rebuild and do it properly. I just don't see it enough in the NFL, Sam.
Well, here's the thing. I think the reason you don't see it specifically with the Cleveland Browns, and specifically in this case, is because Cleveland is such a unique situation where, like, they've tried that multiple times, as a matter of fact, and it also turned right around and kicked him in the face. The problem with the Cleveland Browns is wild, right? Because, like, Jason, everything that you're describing is exactly what they did when they went to get Johnny Manziel, right? It's the same thing they did when they went to get DeShone Kizer. We know how both of those worked out. But on the other side, like what you're talking about in that Raiders-esque level of success, in you draft skill position players that are, stalwarts in terms of talent on your team and maintain a presence on that team for a long time. They've actually done that, like, successfully to a degree, right? Nick Chubb, throughout all this turmoil, all this tumultuous time, had a pretty successful career in Cleveland. Yeah. Myles Garrett has had an incredibly successful career in Cleveland. They've made the right draft decisions at times. I can't answer it any better than this quarterback situation over the last 26 years has been incredibly cursed. Like, they've started, 42 quarterbacks
basically
in the last
since Bernie,
25 years?
Yeah, basically since Bernie Kosar left, it's just been a litany of, Derek Andersons and, guys
Connor
like that.
Shaw.
Connor
Who?
Shaw.
That's right.
Yeah.
Connor Shaw started a game for this team.
I just wish more NFL teams would actually do a proper rebuild rather than try to play it halfway. And that's kind of what the Raiders are doing. I think the Raiders are kind of doing it halfway. You go and get a Gentee, but you're pairing them. Again, you're going and building the future of your franchise with Bowers and Gentee, but then at the same time you're bringing in Jamal Adams. This Christian Wilkins thing has been a nightmare for the team. I just don't see enough teams that fully commit on a rebuild. Maybe they're doing that in Tennessee right now. Maybe that's part of what they're doing in Tennessee. I don't know. I just don't see. I just don't see enough commitment to full-on rebuilds. We got to go real quick.
In the last 20 seconds we have, I'll just say this. The teams that are successful right now are not products of rebuilds. We know in the NFL, rebuilding doesn't work as much as just lucking into good players in the middle of the draft does.
We're talking baseball next. All right, coming up in 10 minutes, we wrap it up with some odds and ends. Among the topics we'll talk about, Marcus Morris. He did what, allegedly? At a casino in Las Vegas? What do you think, he was Danny Ocean? Like Ocean's 11, starring Marcus Morris? Oy vey. You can't rob a casino, Sam Yarnell. You can't rob the casino, Sam. You just can't do it. Our buddy Derek Stevens will come after you, man. From Circa. All right, so let's talk some baseball here. Brave star Ronald Acuña Jr. dealing with an Achilles injury. Oh, my God. You talk about a guy that just cannot catch a break and just cannot stay healthy. And that's what you're staring at right now when it comes to Ronald Acuña Jr. So they're going to put him on the IL. The term that Acuña used was worried. And look, you're always worried when you're talking about an Achilles injury. We just watched what happened in the NBA postseason. All these guys popping their Achilles like they were going out of style, Sam. And it almost feels like it certainly is the death knell for this Braves team as far as anything happening for them this year. But you really feel for Acuña Jr. who's just having trouble staying on the field.
I think that this needs to be a wake-up call for Braves management or Braves ownership, that the management isn't doing well enough if the season hasn't already been that enough for them. It seems like, and I may be reading way too much into what the fans are saying, but it seems like there is general unrest with how that organization has been run this season. And it does feel like heads will roll. I don't know if that'll be Alex Anthopoulos with the track record that guy has of pulling off insanely valuable contracts in terms of a team perspective. However, that perspective ever changing. Look at the production Ozzy Albies has or hasn't had this year. That contract looks worse by the day. The Acuña thing is interesting for also a career narrative for him, because now does he become... To me, there are two injury kind of narratives that can surround you as a Major League Baseball player. There's that of Mike Trout, where it's you are an incredibly talented baseball player and injuries just never let us see the full you. Or is it Aaron Judge, where we saw the full you? We know how valuable the full you truly is. It's maybe top 15 in baseball history, but the full you's almost never on display because you're consistently getting hurt season in and season out. I don't know that I'm ready to answer that question quite yet. We are 2 years removed from this guy stealing 73 bases in a season.
Those days are long gone.
But Jason, that's what I was going to say. He's never going to get back to that point again, especially if this is a full Achilles tear. We're never going to see the MVP caliber pre-second ACL Ronald Acuña Jr. that was truly one of the most special baseball players individual season-wise of all time.
Yeah, it certainly makes it difficult to build around him. So we're basically 24 hours out from the trade deadline, Sam. Got any predictions? Got a feel for what's going on? You know, the Orioles are kind of in an interesting spot right now. I know they did a small deal on the bullpen side with Toronto during a doubleheader yesterday, which was kind of crazy because a player literally changed dugouts and switched uniforms within the same city where they were playing, which was kind of bizarre. But the Orioles are playing better. The Blue Jays have hit the skids. I keep saying this over and over again, and nobody wants to listen to me. I don't care what anybody's doing right now. Show me what everybody's doing at the end of September. And that's the team if I'm throwing money on anybody, it's going to be who is hot at the end of the year, because everybody's had their runs. Everybody's had a run of success and then hit a skid somewhere. And we keep seeing this. And the latest example right now is the Blue Jays. We see what's going on with Detroit, who can't get out of their own way. Sam, I'm telling you, just hit me back up in around the third week of September, and I'll tell you who I think is going to win the World Series.
I'll tell you right now, buy your Houston Astros stock and buy it as much as you can. This is a team that hasn't looked good over the last week. The numbers are up on the Houston Astros. And, you know, friend of the program, Bob Nightingale, reporting that the Astros are going to be very, very, very aggressive in terms of the deadline this year. We know how stacked that rotation is between Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez. Figure it out from there the rest of the way. I don't care. I'll make you the favorite in just about any playoff series with those two guys headlining it. And now, according to, again, our friend Bob Nightingale, they may be in the market to add a Carlos Correa or a Nolan Arenado, as well as an Eugenio Suarez. If they completely overhaul the left side of that infield, which honestly hasn't even been a problem, but you can find somewhere else to plug in Isaac Paredes, as good as and as versatile as he is and has been his entire career. I am firmly worried about the Houston Astros, Jason. They've got the farm system. They've got the prospects to make these moves. The Houston Astros, to me, are a team that's just kind of sitting in wait and ready to pounce on a wide open American League.
Well, real quick in the final minute over on FanDuel right now, you've got the Dodgers at plus 220 to win the whole thing. The Phillies plus 850, the Tigers plus 900, the Mets are 9-1, the Yankees are 9-1. I still don't know how the Yankees are 9-1. I don't it feels like that number is way better or way lower than it should be. The Yankees to me are like a 15 or 20-1 team to win the World Series right now. They really are. Sam, that team's not winning. I cannot say this enough. I will not put good hard-earned money on, and I'm a Yankee fan. At 9-1? No way.
Yeah, it's the New York tax, right? Every New York number's a little lower than it should be.
I think the Cubs at 15-1 is an interesting number. After the Dodgers, man, it literally is a crapshoot. Craps. Love playing craps. Making me want to play craps now. Marcus Morris ain't playing craps. We'll talk about it next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Programming note, Thursday, our usual sports wrap, which you can watch on over 270 affiliates around the country and in Canada. We're going to have all the trade deadline stuff covered. David Ardsma will be here, as usual, Thursday visit with us to talk about all things Major League Baseball and the trade deadline. But on Thursday afternoon, a special live version of Sports Wrap. If you do not follow us on YouTube, go to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Easy for me to say. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Subscribe. You don't have to, but we would like it if you did. And you can watch a special live edition of Sports Wrap leading up to the trade deadline, 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursday afternoon until 6 p.m. Eastern or shortly thereafter. We'll be a little loose with the finish time, but certainly right up until the trade deadline with myself and David Ardsma covering everything going on as we go through the trade deadline. So again, check out the show. It'll be on Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, over on our YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, what are you waiting for? The audio version of this show is available daily, commercial-free, 45 minutes, tight little bow wrapped around it. You can do it while you're on the treadmill. You can do it while you're working out, in the shower, laying in bed, whatever it is you like to do when you listen to your podcasts. You can do that. Subscribe. It's on all your favorite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, and a whole bunch more. You can watch us on over 270 affiliates, but you could also watch us on Spotify. Monday through Friday, the video version of this show, commercial-free, is available. It's also available on the aforementioned SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Monday through Friday, our show is there. You can watch it in its entirety, again, commercial-free. All right, without any further delays, ladies and gentlemen, because there have been a few, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Marcus Morris, what were you thinking when you decided to rob, allegedly, 2 Las Vegas casinos? The ESPN guest commentator, the former NBA forward, is in some hot water. He could be, that's for sure, because prosecutors claim that he stole a combined $265,000 from 2 prominent Las Vegas casinos, those being the MGM Grand Hotel. That is not something you generally want to do. Robbing casinos, unless you're Danny Ocean and the folks on Ocean's 12 or Ocean's 11 or whatever those movies were. I love watching the series. My buddy Brian Koppelman actually directed one of them, or wrote one of them. I don't know what he's thinking, if this is all true, but he was taken into custody at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport in Florida on Sunday over 2 separate warrants connected to the alleged incidents. All the reporting done courtesy of Awful Announcing and TMZ. Again, allegedly he wrote bad checks to take money from both casinos. One for $150,000, one for $115,000. And again, you never really know what's going on in the lives of professional athletes, or in this case, former professional athletes, what kind of financial issues they may be having. Of course, Marcus Morris's camp is probably not very happy about this. Yoni Noy is the representative for Morris, both the Morris brothers, Markieff and Marcus, says, quote, "Just so everyone understands, this is zero fraud here or whatever crap outlets have said regarding fake checks or whatever the hell. This is due to an outstanding marker with a casino. Apparently, if you have over $1,200, they can issue a warrant for your arrest. Absolute insanity." Hopefully that's all it is. And if it is, we will come back here and we will make sure to tell you that that's all that this is. Watch this space. From Marcus Morris to Vince McMahon. I have spent many a days and nights traveling the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut, also known as Route 15. And I can tell you, it has often been called the Merritt Speedway because people like to drive very fast on this stretch of road in Connecticut. I don't know what was going on with Vince McMahon and how fast he may or may not have been driving. But he was cited for reckless driving in a crash in Connecticut. He totaled his Bentley. I mean, you can see the pictures of it there, which obviously didn't look very good. Just a few hours, apparently, before Hulk Hogan's death hit the news, and he was quoted praising the wrestling icon. He was released on a $500 bond, ordered to appear in Stamford's Superior Court on August 26th. How old is Vince McMahon? Dude's not young anymore. I ask this. The reason I mention this is I am always terrified of people my parents' age driving. And my parents are, my dad's 82, my mom's about to turn 80. Bless her heart. Coming up in a couple weeks here. And Vince McMahon's got to be, let's ask, hey Google, how old is Vince McMahon? There we go.
Vince McMahon is 79 years old.
All right, Vince McMahon is 79 years old. He makes $1 zillion. You can't find somebody else to drive you if you're Vince McMahon? I mean, really? I tell my mom all the time, have one of my sisters pick you up and bring you to the grocery store. I don't want you driving. I don't want to share the road with somebody who's 80 or 82 years old. It's not an ageist thing. It's just reflexes, synapses, not working as fast at that age. They're not even working that fast at my age. And I'm like half that age. We're out of time. Thanks again to Nick Ferguson. Doubled up with him. Thanks to Matt Verderame, Sam Yarnell, you for watching. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you back here Thursday. Don't forget, live Sports Wrap, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. We'll see you then.